an electronic interface between ASYCUDA and the Inland Revenue System to remove the need for customs to constantly or through emails or surface mail receive taxpayer codes updates from the Inland Revenue System. You will see in the days to come, custom officers will be using their smartphones, the mobile devices, to execute cargo release within the sheds. You will see in time to come that customs will be releasing cargo electronically to the cargo custodians such as the Port Authority, the other cargo custodians as in the E-Zone and the courier services, FedEx and what have you. All of these features are available in the system. However, in order for the full potential of ASYCUDA World to be realized in the short term, the government of Grenada has to ensure that the legislative framework is in place to support such systems. I will encourage the legislative arm of government to work speedily on implementing the necessary changes to the customs laws and regulations to ensure that customs do not go out on one limb when going out there with an automated system. Mr. Felix gave a very good quiz, but I'd like to give a hint to the answer to say that the idea behind the ASYCUDA World risk management approach and the legislative requirements for using the system is to encourage compliance. And I encourage the Ministry of Finance to support customs as they move ahead with this system, and hopefully the number of persons who will find themselves as not benefiting from the system will be minimized. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me the opportunity to speak here to you today, and I wish you all the best, Mr. Controller, and the staff of the Customs Department as we forge your way ahead to becoming world-class customs. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Joseph, for enlightening us a bit more as to the broader context and where Grenada stands in this whole global initiative called ASYCUDA. On the issue of compliance, I just want to say that a few years ago, when I worked at the Chamber, Mrs. Joan Pivot, former Deputy Controller, came and had me mobilize the members of the Chamber on one occasion, and on another occasion, she asked me to bring together members of the Indian business community. And the issue there was compliance. Now, I'm thinking that, and she was the first person I actually heard use the expression ASYCUDA. So I'm thinking that her spirit is with us here today. And we are fulfilling, by pressing on with the consolidation of ASYCUDA and its improvements, we are fulfilling some of Joan's professional ambitions for the customs service and for Grenada. Well, the Minister for Finance has many ambitions, one of which is the generation of revenue for the country, especially now. But efficiency hopefully will increase revenue intake and compliance will be high. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, it gives me great pleasure to invite our Honorable Minister for Finance, Mr. Nazimbok, to address you. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me first of all recognize the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Timothy and Coyne, Permanent Secretary, that one from the Ministry of Health, Mr. Carl Felix, Controller of Customs and Excise, Ms. Pauline Peters, our Acting Controller of the Inland Revenue Department, other senior public officers, Mr. Christopher Riggs, who is also not only the chairman of today's proceedings, but chairman of the GDTAC program, Mr. Ronnie Theodore, project manager, GDTAC, Ms. Abiola Street, the EU representative, Mr. Fabian Joseph, ASYCUDA implementation advisor, members of the senior management team of the Customs and Excise Department. You look very smart today. You always look smart. Let me take that back. Mr. Ian Evans, our port manager. Mr. Valentino Soni, the president of the Grenada Customs Brokers Association. Distinguished stakeholders and end users of the services of the Grenada Customs and Excise Department, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say first of all that I'm indeed quite happy and honored to be here today to recognize this very important milestone in Grenada's effort to improve the business environment for private sector development and to attract investments into Grenada. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that the economic development of Grenada, Caribbean, and Martinique is dependent on a vibrant and successful private sector. We live in a very harsh and competitive global environment. One of the features of globalization is that it has created a kind of cutthroat situation where the big countries are using that phenomena to process and to peddle all of their goods to the rest of the world, to impose all of their systems on the rest of the world, while the little guys have to try to play catch-up. And in the course of trying to play catch-up, each small guy is trying to push the other one on the side. So we face a very harsh environment in which we are competing as small countries for the same resources, the same people, the same tourists, the same attention, the same investors, all of the same crumbs that are on the ground, as it were, is what these small countries are fighting for and challenging each other for. In this very harsh environment, only the strong will survive. And by strength, I don't mean muscles. I mean a strong head or a smart head. You don't have to work hard, you have to work smart. And part of the challenge that we face requires us to think smart and to act with speed. Speed is the essence of strategy. And ladies and gentlemen, after very careful contemplation, we came to the view that one of the single most important things that this country must do is to create an environment that makes people want to do business here. Don't just say that we want tourists. Don't just say that we want investors. Create the objective conditions that will attract them. And this is why one of the first things that we did when we came into office was to take the decision to establish an office for private sector development. We recognize that the private sector is in fact and in practice the engine of growth. It must drive economic activity. And we needed to have an office within the government construct that had the dedicated objective and purpose of trying to build the environment, create the environment, strengthen the environment upon which the private sector will thrive. We believe that it is government's responsibility to provide the appropriate springboard, as it were, from which the private sector can leap. And therefore, the mandate that is given to the Office of Private Sector Development is to improve the business environment, make it easier for people to do business. That, of course, involves many things, and much of what you've heard before today points to the fact that this is exactly what we're trying to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I would not go into too much detail on that today, but I want to say that the launch of the electronic declaration module of ASYCUDA demonstrates government's commitment